On a muggy night in eastern Alabama 2 summers ago, I could barely see. I was exhausted from spending the day going through infantry leadership exercises for the final phase of the Army Officer Candidate School at Fort McClellan, Alabama. I, along with more than 300 other officer candidates, were dropped off at daybreak, and we hiked into the woods with our helmet, our rifle, and a 35-pound pack on our back. It was the first of our 4 days in the woods. By the first hour, my uniform was soaked from sweat. By 10 p.m., after going through exercises all day, we finally stopped. We found a spot in the woods, laid down our bedding for the night, when we heard our cadre give us new orders. Go until we say stop. Just walk straight. We rolled up our sleeping bags and we walked straight into the darkness, into the thickest woods I've ever seen. I grew up in Charlotte. I loved being in the woods. I had woods behind my house, and I'd ride my bike on the trails and wander around to see what I could discover. Those woods became my playground. But these woods in eastern Alabama, they were no playground. They were a training ground. It was all briars and brambles everywhere you looked, a place not even the enemy would dare to walk. When we were finally told to stop, I laid down my sleeping bag and heard yet one more order. Turn off the lights. It was dark, middle of the night dark, and even under a crescent moon, none of us could hardly see a thing. But I knew the sun would rise, the light would come, and we all would be okay. In our lives, we all will face different kinds of darkness, and it can bring about fear and confusion and cause us to make poor decisions. But when darkness engulfs us, when we feel surrounded by the briars of our lives, remember these words from John 1:6. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Jesus came into the world as the light that pierces the darkness. One way I think about this is the mythical vampires. They work at night because they cannot handle the light. In the same way, our enemy comes to us in our darkest times. We cannot handle the dark on our own because the enemy has been at this far longer than we can fathom. He was born in the light and yet chose the darkness. So look for the light, cling to the light, and study the word of God. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai carrying the 10 Commandments, it says in Exodus, and I quote, his face shone brightly because he had been talking with God. So we can be like Moses. All we must do is find the light. When we do, we can radiate with his glory.